case you're new here, in case you don't know who I am, my name is Vampire Preacher. Welcome to the Toy Dungeon. So, today, we are going to be, as you can tell from the shirt, you are not watching a rerun, do not adjust your set, as we've said before. Today, we are going to be unboxing the Wendigo wave of X-Men action figures from the Marvel Legends line of action figures. We've got some fan favorites here, some ones that people have been wanting to see redone for a very long time. So, hopefully it's going to be a nice one today. If you are new here, if you're watching this on YouTube, ring the bell, subscribe. We got plenty of content coming for you. If you are new here from our live stream, that's right, we actually live stream this before it ever goes up on YouTube. Before the editor gets at it and gets all memey. It is live on twitch.tv/Vampire Preacher. This guy. Where, yes, I live stream these unboxings on Sundays. You'll usually get a tweet about it, which, there we go. Cue the Twitter over here, Twitch somewhere, we'll say up there, and YouTube link right. Yeah, there. Alright, enough of me self-plugging here. Let's get into the figures. So, today we're going to have the wave, but it's a small wave today. It's only 6 figures in the Wendigo wave. So, bonus figures, bonus figures. Alright. I know I'm excited about them. The one I've had for a while, actually I've had both these bonus figures for a while. I'm really excited because they're cool. I like them. Plus, at the end, more? Yes, we're going to be doing a little bit of light customizing. Some of the figures today come with bonus pieces for other older figures that you can try and make your own figure with, change things up a little bit, so we'll give that a go too. Enough of me talking. You're not here to see me, you're here to see figures. So, we're going to do, if you guys have seen one of our streams before, we kind of try and alternate between well-knowns and ones that people are anticipating versus some lesser-known characters. So our first character on the docket today is Boom Boom. It is not Jubilee. I repeat, it is not Jubilee. It is Boom Boom. She is not Jubilee. She is a completely different character. I swear, fingers crossed, scouts on her, all that good stuff. She is not Jubilee. Completely different character. So let's get into what we've got here. Of course, what we're seeing here is we've got our standard window pane. We've got all of our goodies on the inside. We've got our artistic rendering on the back, along with the same artistic rendering, or on the side rather, one on the back. Our little blurb here, all about Boom Boom. Tabitha Smith, who is an X-Men, but is again, and I repeat this wholeheartedly, not Jubilee. She's not Jubilee. Not Jubilee. So, let's see exactly what we've got here today. Did they start giving us instructions again? No. They've started giving us warning sheets. This is very new. They used to give instructions about how to make the Build-A-Figure. Now, it's a big warning sheet. Okay. Sure thing. Whatever you guys say. At this point, whatever you want to go with. As we see once again, for our background here, it's just kind of a very simple X. It's an X-Men wave. What are you going to expect? We've got the foot here of Wendigo. Now, for those of you with a keen eye, you will notice this looks a whole lot like the Sasquatch Build-A-Figure they did a little while back. And you'd be absolutely right. Yeah, it looks pretty much like they just redid the Sasquatch Build-A-Figure, but in white with a new head and with some new parts. But, hey, Hulk villains are Hulk villains. We've got our extra head, an extra hand, a little fireball here, and of course the main body of Boom Boom here. Oh, we are good and locked up for this joint. Yep, that's not coming. I'm gonna need to use a blow dryer around that or some hot water. Alright, so seems to be the pretty standard female, the quote-unquote teen body that we've been getting a lot of. The head also appears to take a lot, and I mean a lot of inspiration from the Jubilee figure that we saw last time. Now, I will note the glasses on Boom Boom are not removable, unlike Jubilee, who had separate glasses. But she still has the bubble gum popping mouth here. Sure, why not? So our articulation should be pretty much the same as it was on Jubilee, because again, they're based on the same body. It's just a different color for the body suit. But it is a different character, so I'm happy. We don't get that much X-Force love these days. So let's get into the articulation on this guy. For her head, even with the bubblegum, she's able to look down decently well. And if it weren't for there we go. Even with the jacket, she's able to look up really nicely here. For our shoulder articulation, alright, we're getting a little bit better than a T-pose. It's not much better than a T-pose, but it's a bit better. For our single-jointed elbows, and lack of bicep swivels here. You guys have heard it a million times. I'm not even going to say it anymore. Hasbro, stop it. We are only, well, we can get the inverse bend, because that's a natural way that human arms bend. But we're of course only getting about 90 degrees. Actually, that's not even 90 degrees. That's not even a 90-degree bend for her. Hasbro. Is that good flex? I didn't think so. You didn't think so. This is how it ought to look. Not like you're trying to turn on a bicycle. Come on. Come on, guys. For our hand articulation, of course, we've got the standard in and out wrist articulation here. And actually, for once, our effect hand also has in and out wrist articulation. But we also have a standard non-powered wrist, so that also works. Though honestly, if you're going to be displaying her and you want to differentiate her from Jubilation Lee, then a little bit of action here with this fireball, which doesn't quite sit in her hand perfect. You can make it work, but it takes a little bit of doing. That being said, honestly, she comes with two effects. I'm never going to use that other hand here. I'm only ever going to use an effects hand. Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be a hairdryer adjustment there. Yeah, you can kind of make it work with the 2 fireballs. It's not grand, but it works. Just to kind of make her a little bit different than Jubilee. You can kind of go with the 2 fireball thing. For her ab swivel, that is as far forward as I'm going. The articulation seems really, really tight on this figure. Like, she does not want to move. I don't know if I've just had her for too long and she doesn't care to move. That's all the backward articulation. You're getting nothing out of it. I mean, articulation-wise, I'm not even getting anything side to side. She is very, very stiff. Like, this is a really stiff figure. It's hard for me to move anything here on her. So, something to keep in mind if you're thinking about picking her up. For her hip articulation, there you go. That's it. That's all you're getting out of her. We of course have the thigh. She has thigh cuts. It's hard to move them, but she's got them. She also has the double jointed knees, which there's nothing impeding this knee at all, except for bad design. She should be able to bring her knee back all the way. There's nothing, up until you get to this belt here, there's nothing impeding this. And honestly, I'm going to be dead honest with you guys, I don't feel like modifying this figure any more than I have to already. Okay, apparently my super zoom decided to die. Wonderful. Alright, cool. She again has no boot cuts for the figure. But for our ankle articulation, she can go out a decent degree and in, yeah. The boot coverings here, of course, aren't actually attached. None of the extra belts or straps on the figure are attached, just as an FYI. So, as you saw when I first opened her up, this leg piece here just kind of slides down. The belt here, as you can tell, has been jangling this whole time. The wrist pieces for her gloves, yeah, those slid down as well. And the boot covers here, yeah, no, those aren't doing anything, but held down by friction, kind of down here. But for her ankle articulation, we're going a decent degree forward, and yeah, if you push up the boot cover, she can go a decent degree back. She can't quite go on point, but she can go a decent degree back. All in all, it's cool to have a Boom Boom figure. I can't say it's a good Boom Boom figure. Hasbro's got a lot of work that they need to do with their engineering on, most especially their female figures, to make them really stand out. If you want a Boom Boom, if you have the 90s cable and you want to throw her in, make yourself a really awesome X-Force team with some characters that aren't really that well known, or if you really like X-Men Evolution, but of course we never got a figure of this version of Boom Boom. So, all in all, she's a 4. She's a 4 at best. The extra head's nice. I don't know if I'm going to really have her popping gum or if I'm going to have her with the normal head. It'd be nice if this had any way whatsoever of staying on her hand. There's not. It kind of sits, but not well. And gravity is the only thing holding it there right now, and it's not doing a good job. I'll be dead honest with you guys, if you need the leg for Wendigo here, buy it online. If you really, really want a Boom Boom figure, then grab her, otherwise, pass. She's an easy pass in my book. That's a grand way to start a wave, isn't it? Alright, well, let's move on to someone that you guys might be a little bit more familiar with. He's not my favorite character, but he might just be your favorite character. Next up, we've got Wolverine. Now, this is the Uncanny X-Force version of Wolverine. We've had a few different Uncanny X-Force versions of characters released. There was a version of Wolverine along with a Psylocke and a Archangel in a box set from ages ago. So if you've got those and you got the X-Force version of Warpath from eons ago that I can't even find, and I really, 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 really want, then put him with them. Yeah. X-Force Psylocke, X-Force Warpath. They made an X-Force Deadpool, X-Force X-23, and X-Force Archangel. And yeah, you got yourself a whole team there. So, that's cool. On the inside, we've got the same backing that we've had. The weird new warnings. We don't get a whole lot inside of here. We get Wendigo's head, which you are one ugly son of a
Pumba! Not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry.
We also have, of course, Wolverine. Now, this version of Wolverine, we don't have any extra hands, we don't have any extra heads. We've got nothing. We've just got the old canical head. In all of his, we'll call it glory? I do like one thing that Hasbro is doing with their Wolverine figures. They're really keeping him in scale as far as Wolverine goes. He is a tiny, tiny figure. And I do kind of love it. Like, even next to Boom Boom here, he's a short guy, even next to her. And she is based on a teenage girl's body. So, we're talking real small. For the articulation here, actually, before I even get into that, join me in looking at these claws. These are not your normal claws. They start out thin and they get really, really thick at the tip. It's a really unique look. I kind of like it. It's very comic booky. Which, I mean, it should be comic booky. It's based on a comic book. Getting into our articulation, we've got a fairly decent degree of downward neck movement, and he can look up alright. He can't look up great, but it's alright. Honestly, I wish they would have made his backward neck articulation a little bit better, so that we really could have had him with the fastball special, really looking straightforward as, again, if you have Warpath and if you got him, you don't want him anymore, think about this guy here. But anyway, completely kidding. Really do wish they had better backward neck articulation so that we could have gotten that fastball special with Warpath. It's alright. For our shoulder articulation, now, another thing I'm loving that they're doing with Wolverine figures, they're making sure they put in the butterfly joints on pretty much every Wolverine figure they're doing now. So he can move his arms forward like this, or, of course, the reason why they do it is so that you can move his arm back to get that Berserker Rage mode out of it. For our shoulder articulation, we're getting about a T-pose. We're getting right about 90 degrees. I think he's just a little bit tough to maneuver and position today, but we're getting about 90 degrees out of him. We of course have the bicep swivel, and since we're talking about his arms, we've got the detail of the painted on hair, which is, again, such a weird choice. Hasbro, you guys, you actually sculpted hair for different Wolverine figures. Use those hairy biceps. Come on now. Anyway, we've got the bicep swivel here for our elbow articulation. Ooh, really? You guys already know where this is going. Wolverine. Is that good flex? Is that what we want to see out of you? No, it's not. We need to see you able to really bring it back. That's 90 degrees, man. Bad form. We, of course, have the standard in and out wrist articulation here. Now, I must ask, out of pure question, because they've been doing it, is it the case with these as well? If it is, I can't get it out. Hasbro has been making the claws all removable as of late. I can't get it out right now. I'm not going to try that hard because I really don't want to ruin this figure. But they could be removable just because they are such unique claws that he's got. For our ab crunch, he can go a pretty nice degree forward. If only he could hold his head up high as he did so that you could actually get him into a punch choke pose. And going back, it's not bad. It's a decent degree of backwards articulation. It's not fantastic, but it's decent. He does have a waist cut, unlike the Boom Boom character we just looked at. For his hip articulation, well, better than Boom Boom. So, I don't know if that's saying much, but it's saying it's better than hers was. We, of course, have the thigh cuts, the double jointed knees, which, once again, better than Boom Boom. Even though he's got the extra kibble here of the belts around the bottom of, or the top rather, of his boot. Actually, they're kind of all along the boot here. Which is another thing that I like about this figure. They made him a little bit more tactical. If you're looking at him, he's definitely not just your plain yellow and blue spandex. You could see the belts here on the glove. You can see him here on the boots. It's a little bit... Actually, there's even lines, if you look very closely, on the head. I'm not sure if that's going to come into focus. Nope, of course not. There's two thin lines on each side of the head here. They did do some nice detailing with this figure to make it very tactical looking, which is great for his Uncanny X-Force look. We'll get to that in a minute. He does not have a boot cut. He does not have he has separate boots and no cut. Just gonna leave that there. For our ankle articulation. A decent degree in, a rather painful degree out. Going forward, that's pretty much all you're getting. The straps here kind of get in the way. And going back, he can almost go on point. All in all, is it a great Wolverine figure? It's a unique one. Do you need him if you have other Wolverines in your collection? If you've got an Uncanny X-Force set and you want to put him with Uncanny X-Force Allura, or Deadpool, or Betty, or Archangel, sure. Yeah, go for it. Is he necessary for your collection? Probably not. Seeing as how the only hands he comes with are his standard hands, and the only other accessory he's got is that head. I'd say he's a 5. He's a 5. He's middle of the road. He's not offensive, but he's not great. I'm not a big Wolverine fan, so take that as you will. That being said, it's a good representation of the character. Sorry about that. It's a good representation of the character. But it's not a great figure. It's good, but it's not great. Moving on. Our next figure, I kind of like, but we'll get into it in a second. So, going with our theme of greater known and lesser known, we've got another X-Force member, since we've already got Boom Boom, why not, with Cannonball. This is the second time we've ever seen Cannonball in Marvel Legends form. The first time was ages ago in a 2-pack with Domino. I should have grabbed that figure because I haven't. Didn't think about that one before we started today. It's alright, you guys can check out my Twitter. There. And check him out. See what he's all about compared to his older version of himself. Once again, we've got our window pane front, our artistic back, the same art on the back with the little blurb up here about him, and as has been on all of them, the remainder of the wave. Inside, we're not looking at a lot. We've got the X, cool. We have the other leg for our Wendigo Build-A-Figure. And we've got Cannonball. And that's it. I know you guys are probably wondering the same thing that I was when they showed off this figure. Where are his legs? I'm glad you asked. because they're not there. He doesn't have legs. We can see he's got a waist swivel. But this is their attempt at making it show off his powers. It's an idea, Hasbro? I'm not going to say it's a good idea, but it's an idea. Maybe the same kind of clip-on parts as you gave us with Hydro Man would have been better. Maybe making it so you could slip on this bottom piece would have been better. Instead we have... Moving on! We'll get into the articulation first. For our head articulation, he can look down decently, and can he look up? Yeah, a pretty decent way. Not wonderfully, but a pretty decent way. For our shoulder articulation, he can go right to about 90 degrees. He's really just got like a T-pose there at best. He does have bicep cuts, which actually blend really well with the cut of his jacket here. You almost can't see them unless you're turning him, in which case they're really apparent. For our elbow articulation, third in a row today. Not that good flex. It's getting closer, but we're not quite there yet. For our hand articulation, we've got the in and out. I think these pieces for his gloves are just kind of held down there by friction. And of course, we've got a ab crunch, where you can go this far forward and that far back. And then a waist swivel. And that's it. That is all the articulation on Cannonball. I appreciate what Hasbro was attempting to do here. It's a neat idea, it's a neat concept, but it's a failure of a concept. Come on now, look at this. It's a hollow piece of plastic on the bottom. In years prior, and in a previous unboxing that I did, of some older figures that were not Marvel Legends, but they were like Marvel Legends, I showed off a Hydro Man figure that was done by ToyBiz. What they did was they had a fountain of water for his legs, but they also made it so that you could pop off this piece here on the bottom and replace it with an actual set of legs. This figure is from over a decade ago. It was a Spider-Man Classics figure. Why is it that a figure from over 10 years ago can have legs and a bottom effect piece, and Cannonball can't? Am I going to be displaying this version of Cannonball in my collection? Doubtful. I've already got the 2-pack with Domino. Honestly, I think it's better representation of the figure, or of the character rather. He doesn't need to have this, and since there's no way to attach this to a wall, it's, you guys can see it's just a hollow. It doesn't have like a screw attachment or something so that I can try and make him look as though he's flying at you. And because they've got such a limited waist articulation here, and even limited neck articulation, you can't really make him look like he's actually flying at you with any kind of purpose. It's a miss. I like the concept, Hasbro. It's a 3. It's a 3 because we haven't gotten a figure of Cannonball in a while. That's the only reason why I'm not telling you to just toss him straight into the trash. At least he's a modern representation of the character, but not a good one. A 3 is the nicest thing I'm going to say, because again, I appreciate what they're attempting here with the effect. They need to work a lot on their engineering before they can make that look the way it should. Honestly, so far I'm saying buy your Wendigo pieces online if you want Wendigo that bad. But I think the next figure might just change my mind. So, next up, he's a fan favorite villain. He's one of my favorite villains. I hope he's one of your favorites too. We have Nathaniel Essex, who you might know better as Mr. Sinister. Of course, for the figure here, once again, we've got the same thing as we usually do. Our window pane front, our art here on the side, the same art on the back, our blurb, all about Nathaniel, the remaining figures in the wave. Inside, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this is a hefty boy here. I'm a little bit surprised that he's got such heft to him. We've got the arm here of Wendigo, which is a fairly hefty piece. I think he's going to be a big beefy boy. The cape is really unique here, but yeah, Mr. Sinister still has a good bit of heft to him, even without the Wendigo piece. So, alright. Now, we do not have any additional hands for him, which is a little bit disappointing. With the exception of Boom Boom, only one other figure in this entire wave has extra hands. There are 2 figures in total out of 6 that have extra hands. Boom Boom and our last figure of the wave. But before we get into all of that, let's see what we've got here with Mr. Sinister. Now again, we've got our really unique cape. Mr. Sinister's always had the most unusual cape. They've made it a 2-layer affair here. I know when ToyBiz did Mr. Sinister, they had it all as one. I'm not sure if I like this better. I think I do. I know that I like the high arc of it much better, where it really pops up the way it should. There's laid too flat on him. This has got that big poof like it should, along with this huge collar. Now, I know this huge collar is going to be impeding on his neck articulation, but I mean, come on, it's very classic Mr. Sinister. Cape made of both red and black licorice. Goodness. He's delicious.
Goodness, I taste delicious.
We've got our downward neck articulation, which, yeah, you can hold down on the Summers family fairly well. I say the Summers family because, come on now, you and I both know, biggest enemy for old Scotty boy, this guy. Biggest enemy of Scott is him. He's got some weird thing about the whole Summers family. It's this guy. It's this guy right here. For our backward neck articulation. You know, even with that great big cape, he can still look up pretty decently well. I'm not really looking for Mr. Sinister, of all people, to have a hopeful look to the future, looking up, knowing that there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. He's the light. He's the light, and it's usually him trying to operate on someone. For our shoulder articulation. Alright. Better than a T-pose. We're getting better than 90 degrees. Very nice. Additionally, we do have the bicep swivels here. For our elbow articulation. Can he? Ladies and gentlemen, it only took us 2/3 of the way through the wave. We got it. Nathaniel Essex, of all people, has that good flex. He's got that good flex. Alright. Again, it only took us how long? We do have the in and out articulation on both of our hands here. We don't have the sword articulation of the up and down for either, but it's Mr. Sinister. I'm expecting it to just be that. I'm not even sure if I'm going to have him trying to be anything besides menacing, kind of sitting there holding his one hand in the other, maybe even with his hands behind his back a la Ebony Maw. For his waist articulation, or for his ab articulation rather, we've got ab crunch on him, and he can go a decent degree forward and pretty great degree back. Looks like he's about to do some kind of really weird swan dive right now, but whatever. Now I will note something. I was trying to see if any of this figure was mold reuse. I don't know if it is. All of the lines that you see here are actually detailed into the plastic. Same thing with his gem. Otherwise, I thought he might have been a reuse of the Colossus mold that we had. I'm not entirely sure that his arm pieces are not a reuse of Colossus' arms. But I know the chest piece, at the very least, is brand new. Between the cowl piece here, which is all kind of inlaid into the chest, the gem here, which is also inlaid into the chest, it appears to be a new mold, at least for most of this character. Kudos, Hasbro. Kudos. We do have a waist cut here, as per usual. For our hip articulation, well, I can say one thing for sure. It's much better than Cannonball's hip articulation. Since there is none, Hasbro. Come on, man. Come on, guys. You can do better. He's got pretty decent hip articulation. He does have thigh cuts, and they're actually really well hidden here by the boots. His thigh cuts are up here. I kind of like the swirly metal that they do with some of the characters. In this case, it really works. Sometimes it can be a pretty big miss. It can be a very big miss. But in this case, it works. For our knees, our double jointed knees here. Oof. He's got a little bit too much thigh muscle here. He's not getting any better. That's as far as we're going. It's better than Boom Boom, and we can always say, at least it's better than Cannonball. We do not seem to have any... Oh! We do! We have a boot cut here. We have a boot cut for this figure. Even with his teeny tiny little boots, we do indeed have a boot cut. What an odd decision. Hasbro, you've had so many characters today with boots, and you gave one with the teeniest, tiniest boots a boot cut. How unusual. We do, of course, have our rocker ankles, where he's got a pretty painful degree inward and incredibly painful degree outward articulation. That's as far forward as his ankle's going. That's it. That's it. You got it right there. There's too much flash here from those teeny tiny boots. Go any farther forward and going back. Yep, you're looking at it. It's not quite on point, but it's still pretty good. All in all, thus far, he is my figure of the wave. Now I'm pretty positive that's going to change by the end of this wave. As we have a figure that I know I've been waiting for a very long time. Because he's got that good flex, he's actually able to do exactly as I was saying, and kind of fold his hands together there. Which that is menacing. I like that. Let's take a look at that. That has a menacing look. I love it. Mr. Sinister is probably going to be posed just like this on my shelf. Not doing any big kind of action-y thing, just sitting there. Menacing. With that big old toothy grin. I mean, come on now. That's mildly terrifying, and I love it so much. Because this is only the second time we've ever seen Mr. Sinister in Marvel Legend form. Man, I'm amazed at how much I love this figure. I didn't even want to get him. I've got the ToyBiz one and I said, I'm good. I'm really, really happy with my purchase here. Mr. Sinister was a fantastic figure. He's gonna get an 8. No, you know what? He's going to get a 9. He's going to get a 9. They could have done a couple things different to make him a solid 10. Maybe some extra hands. Maybe some straight hands just to kind of do one of these. Maybe 2 sets of claw hands so he can do one of these. But honestly, besides some extra hands, I'm really, really satisfied with this figure. He's awesome! And with that one figure, instead of the others, which are all just get it online if you want the build-to-figure piece for Wendigo, this one, grab him. You see him, grab him. Grab him immediately. He is amazing. I love what they did with Mr. Sinister. They did an amazing job. Alright, moving on, otherwise I'm going to keep on talking about that figure forever. Moving on to someone who's lesser known by most people, but I'm a big fan of his team to the point where I've already pre-ordered the 6-figure set of the remainder of his team, besides himself and Sasquatch. Sasquatch, of course, being a build-to-figure for a Deadpool wave over a year ago. I'm very happy to to say that we've got Guardian as our next figure. That's right, if you're an Alpha Flight fan like me and no one else, I'm joking, they've got like 4 fans out there, maybe 5. We've got Guardian. Now, I had made mention there is a box set coming out for the remainder of Alpha Flight. So, if once again you're like me and a big fan, go on Amazon. It is a 6-piece set. It comes with Vindicator, Shaman, North Star, Aurora, Puck, and Snowbird. It's a really, really cool looking set. And with that one set, this one figure, and the build-to-figure of Sasquatch, you got him. I know there's a couple more members of Alpha Flight that are not included in the set. Hey, that gives us 8 members of one team. That isn't the X-Men. I'll take it. I'll take it in a heartbeat. Alright, enough about me plugging an upcoming set. Hashtag not sponsored. Sponsor me. Seriously, please sponsor me. Anyway, let's get into the figure at hand. So, we've of course got our window pane in the front, our arts here on the side, which is the same art here on the back, our blurb all about James Hudson here, and the remaining figures in the wave. On the inside, for whatever reason, he still has the X of the X-Men. We also have this little packet about warnings for whatever reason that Hasbro is now tossing that in. We have our build-to-figure pieces here. I say pieces because it's the Wendigo body, but this is a little bit funny. In order to make the Sasquatch build-to-figure into Wendigo, because that's what this is, guys. I'm not going to try and cut it any other way. The Wendigo figure is the Sasquatch figure with a new head and a tail. That's it. That's what they did. They took the old mold, they redid it in white, they tossed on a little plug here for the tail, tossed in this head, and said, that's a new figure. But, of course, since that's going to be the last figure that we review today, you guys know I'm going to be assembling him off camera. Ooh! Alright! Wow! Okay! Huh. Well, suddenly I'm really happy. Anyway, we'll get into that review after we finish up with... That was an unusual choice. They put his feet through the plastic. Alright. That's... Sure. Ooh, are you going to be another one that's going to have really tough articulation for me today? It's going to be between you and Boom Boom? I feel like it's going to be between you and Boom Boom. Who's going to give me the hardest time today? Now, this is the second time, and that's kind of the theme that we're seeing today, is second time we've ever seen. Actually, with every one of the figures, with the exception of Boom Boom and, of course, Wolverine, and our Build-A-Figure, I can say that the remainder of them are all second time in the wave. two-thirds. Two-thirds of this entire wave are second time ever seen in the line. We saw ToyBiz do Nathaniel Essex. We saw Hasbro in their early days do Guardian. And we saw, again, early day Hasbro do Cannonball. So, a lot of these have been figures that people have been wanting to be redone for a while, and the last figure that we're doing after Guardian here is also second time in the line. So, at least we've got a theme going. Took you long enough to give us redos of all these guys, Hasbro, but for some of them it was worth the wait. For others, I only mention because, unlike Mr. Sinister and Cannonball, who I did not queue up ahead of time, which was a amateur rookie mistake. Rookie mistake, man. That was a mistake on my part. I did, however, queue up the previous figure of Guardian. Here they are side by side. This is from the Red Hulk wave, which was a Target exclusive. For the longest time was the only version of Guardian we had, literally until today. And you can see already, just size-wise, our new version of Guardian is about a quarter of an inch taller than this old one. It's also got a larger head than the old one. It does not have the butterfly shoulders here. It's got the newer hips, not the old ball hips. It does not have the toe or the hand articulation. It does not have the glove articulation here. But honestly, looking at the two, this was good for its time. For its time being operative words. For its time, it was a good figure. These days, yeah. I'll be honest with you guys, the whole reason why I have this figure in my collection is because I have a series of old Alpha Flight figures with Vindicator, Sasquatch, North Star, Aurora, Puck, and Snowbird. So I wanted to put together an Alpha Flight before, but now that they actually have them all as Marvel Legends figures coming, I'm going to be updating all of them, including, of course, today, Guardian. For our new Guardian, let's take a look at our articulation. We've got actually pretty decent downward neck articulation. Pretty great, actually really great upward neck articulation. It's good for a flying pose. For our shoulder articulation. Guardian, you are not wanting to play nice with me today. We can get a T-pose out of him, though. Maybe a little bit better than a T-pose, but we'll call it a T-pose here. We're getting about the 90-degree angle. We, of course, have the bicep swivels, the double-jointed elbows, five figures in, we've had one figure that's given us that good flex. And it ain't Guardian. Mr. Sinister! Mr. Sinister of all people! Of all people, Mr. Sinister's the only one with that good flex. Okay then! We've of course got the inward and outward hand articulation here. We do not have the sword cuts, but I wouldn't expect us to. Guardian's more of a brawler anyway, so. For our ab crunch, we've got a pretty decent degree forward and a fairly nice degree back. We've of course got the waist cuts for our hip articulation. Not bad. Not bad at all. It's not great. It's not Mr. Sinister's. But hey, at least it's better than Cannonball. Moving on. We've of course got our thigh cuts here. For our double jointed knees. Hasbro. Hasbro, look at me. Look at me. Look at me, Hasbro. Why? There is nothing here preventing this knee from going all the way back. Nothing. There's no extra flash. That's it. That's as far as we can get this back. Why would you do this? Why? I just want to know. I just want to know. I just want to know why. Moving on. We do have boot cuts here, even though he doesn't have separate boots, but we don't have boot cuts for Wolverine, who does have separate boots. Moving on! Otherwise, I'll be on that all day. For our rocker ankles. That is a painful degree in and an unnatural degree out. We do have a decent amount of forward. And, wow, hey, we've got one character so far today that can go on point. Alright. All in all, Guardian is a nice update. He's definitely an improvement over the previous Guardian figure. And honestly, if you don't have this one, grab the new one. If you do have the old one, grab the new one. If you're a big fan of Alpha Flight, definitely grab it. You already probably did. If you just want the torso that comes for the new Wendigo build figure, well, yeah, of course, grab it. I'm sure that torso is going for more money than the whole figure. Definitely grab it. Between the two, this one's nice for nostalgia purposes. It's good for my old Alpha Flight display. My new Alpha Flight display, it's got this guy in it. All in all, I'm going to give him 7 out of 10. I'm going to give this figure a 7 out of 10. They've got some choices that they made engineering-wise that I'm not entirely a fan of. You could have used an extra set of hands or two. That being said, it's not a bad figure. And I'm a big Alpha Flight fan, so yeah. Yeah, he's going to get a 7 out of 10 from me. Our last figure of the wave is one that I know I have been very, very excited to see. I'm hoping you have been very excited to see. Much like the 3 that I've shown off in the past figures unboxing, it is the second time in the line that we have seen this character. It's been a very long time since we've seen him. Since the ToyBiz days, to be exact. And, I'll tell you a secret, I don't even have that figure. I never got this figure the first time around because I have his Evolution figure, and I just personally like that figure better. Between the two, I did. But I think this one's going to take over for my Evolution. If you guys don't know who I'm talking about, it's Kurt Wagner, the Incredible Nightcrawler. I'm not going to get too excited, I haven't even opened it up, but I'm so happy that we got this figure again. I'm so happy we got this character. Let's just get into it before I start gushing over how much I love it before I've even touched it. We once again have the window pane on the front, the art here on the side, the same art here on the back, and our blurb about Kurt. Inside the box, it's still got that X-Men backing. which we could have put an Excalibur backing on it, since he's been a member of that team as well. But instead, we got an X-Men backing. I'm cool with that. I've got no complaints. We have the last piece of our Wendigo Build-A-Figure, in this case the left arm of Wendigo, who of course will be reviewed right after we're done with Kurt here, now that Wendigo is 100% together, and he is a big beefy boy. In the pack, this is where they spent, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm going to be dead honest. This right here, this is where they spent all the engineering money for this wave. It's in this figure. 2 extra heads, a sword, an extra hand. All of their engineering money went straight to Kurt. Thank you. Thank you. This is the figure to use your engineering money on. Between this and Mr. Sinister, hey, that's cool. Give us the others that are all kind of meh. We have our extra hand, our 2 completely different heads. Which just make me so happy to be getting this version of the Blue Elf. We've got his cutlass. We've got his cutlass. We've got Kurt's cutlass with it. Cannot express my happiness. His tail actually goes through the back of the plastic here. Gets caught up a little bit trying to bring it out, but that's just fine. And here we have him. Here we have him, ladies and gentlemen. We have Nightcrawler. Now I've got the extra hand here, which, first things first, the extra hand has the standard in and out articulation. Honestly, I'm probably never going to display him with that hand because we have a sword-holding hand here just for his cutlass. We'll get into that in just a moment. First things first, let's get into the articulation. Including, we have an articulated tail. It's not just on in one spot, it swivels. Alright. That's going to make for some fun posing. I'll be honest with you guys, I always hate it when we get a figure with a tail and it's just stuck in one position. Kind of limits my posing abilities. With Kurt, having this tail where you can have it up, you can have it down, you can have it kind of wrapping around his leg. That's cool. Well done. Well done. For our head articulation, Nightcrawler can look down pretty well and can look up amazingly well. For our shoulder articulation, better than a T-pose. It's not much, but it's a little bit better than a T-pose. I'll take it. Now, if you guys can't see, he actually also, just like our Wolverine figure, has butterfly shoulders. I know, I'm as surprised as you, but if you're going to give them to any 2 characters, give them to the 2 who are the most dynamic. That's a good use of butterfly shoulders there. We, of course, have the bicep swivel here, which isn't wanting to turn on its own, it's wanting to turn from the shoulder, but there we are. We've got the bicep swivel here for our elbow articulation. Are we going to see it? Are we going to have two? Ladies and gentlemen, you already know what's coming. We've got two in the wave that have that good flex. Yes! And again, it's Mr. Sinister, of all people, and Kurt. Nightcrawler, you expect him to be flexible. But I've expected a lot of figures to be a lot more flexible than they were today. But Kurt Wagner has that good flex, boys and girls. Yes! Additionally, for Hasbro actually having some sense today. His right hand has the sword cut, the up and down that should be used with his sword. I cannot tell you how many different figures there are that they decide for whatever reason, no, they don't need a sword cut, even though we've given them a sword. Or how many figures have guns and they don't have trigger fingers. Kurt, though. Kurt here has a sword that he can menacingly point at you. And it's wonderful. I mean, come on now. That's a beautiful thing. For our waist articulation, which, before I get into that, as a note, it is soft goods for the vest here, which means that they did a whole new chest piece, because these soft goods here are inlaid into the chest. Again, color me impressed. Wow! That is a fantastic degree of forward ab crunch articulation. Ladies, he will bend over backwards for you. That is the best backward ab articulation we've seen in a very long time. We do have a waist cut here, as per usual, for our hip articulation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just shy of doing the splits. This is the best hip articulation we've seen Hasbro give us. Yeah. We of course have the thigh cuts here. For our double jointed knees, he can go all the way back. He can go all the way back for his double jointed knees. We do not have a boot cut, nor do we have a wrist cuff cut there. But honestly, that works with the figure. For our ankle articulation, we've got an incredibly painful degree of inward articulation, and the same goes with the out. That's painful. We can go tremendous degree forward, and of course, Kurt can go all the way on point back. Because we've got extra heads, let's give them a quick look. Now, the serious Kurt head's fine, But if we're talking about me here, oh no, I want the smiling Kurt head. I want smiling Nightcrawler here all day long, pointing a sword at someone, acting like he wants to fence them to death. And for our secondary head, because they gave us 2 extras, it works really well coming out of a portal. It's got that Scream look to it. If he was trying to surprise someone popping out of a portal. That being said, that's one thing we didn't get with Kurt, which is really weird to me. We didn't get a Vamp. There's no portal. There's no poof. We all know it's Vamp, but we don't have an effect piece. I know they did great things with his articulation. The engineering on this figure is some of the best I've seen, and it's wonderful. It's genuinely good. I do wish that they gave us an effect piece. That being said, if you guys tuned into the previous unboxing of the Marvel Legends Caliban wave, you'll know that we've already unboxed a figure of Blink. And that Blink figure came with this portal. But what in the world are you going to use for Blink? Vamp. What are you going to do for Blink? If you're going to be a madman and give Kurt this portal, what are you going to do for... Well, I'm glad you asked. I actually have an old Blink figure from back in the day, Marvel's Most Wanted. And, well, the new Blink kind of got some of her old parts. As you can see, she actually got the old backpack with the old light daggers to open up portals. She also got the old portal. So, yes, my Blink is going to be coming out of this portal here in the display. And for Kurt's, if you guys didn't pick up Blink, first of all, why not? She's an awesome character. She's a pretty great figure. You didn't see the previous review for details. And she's got this guy, which, well, it is doing a little bit of, we'll call it aftermarket modification. It's not any massive ones. And it certainly works for making Wolverine, I almost called him Wolverine, for making Nightcrawler, for making Kurt come lunging out of a portal ready to attack. I mean, that's a pretty fun display look right there. Kurt popping up behind someone with a cutlass in hand, ready to strike. That might just be how I display the elf. Just like that, tail in the wind, popping up with the world's worst surprise for some poor villain. And that's wonderful. Out and out, if you guys can find a figure of Nightcrawler, this figure from the Wendigo wave, if you find him in retail, do not pass him up. Don't do it. Don't pass up on this figure. Get it. Get it immediately. This is a wonderful figure. This, honestly, it blows the previous ones from ToyBiz. Both the Marvel Legend, which this is the second time we've ever seen a Marvel Legend of Kurt, which came after the Galactus series, the first ever Build-A-Figure, was with Kurt. And that's been a very long time ago. I won't talk about how long ago it was. It was a very, very long time ago. The first ever Build-A-Figure had Kurt. It's taken that long to get another one of them, and they did not disappoint. This figure is wonderful. My only negative criticism is I had used Blink's portal. Other than that, because I have a negative criticism, I'm gonna have to give him a 9, but he was this close to getting a perfect 10. This figure and the wonderful engineering they did with him, they brought him this close to a perfect 10. You know what? Strike the 9. We're giving him a 9.5. Because this is my only negative, that I had to take this from Blink, but I wasn't going to use it for her anyway. But you guys might. So, or you might need to get a different aftermarket effect figure for his Vamp. Out and out, grab this figure. Grab yourself a Kurt. Put him with your X-Men display. Put him with an Excalibur display if you've got one, because there's not a whole lot of Excalibur figures out there. This figure right here, I cannot put into words how much I love this figure. He is perfect. I know he's this far from perfect. Close enough. He's perfect. Alright. And getting off of that incredible high that we just got from the best Nightcrawler figure I've ever laid my hands on, we've got one more figure to go with this wave. I've mentioned before that he is actually a Hulk villain. He's been other villains for other people before, but he's most well known as a Hulk villain, and that is our Build-A-Figure of the wave, Wendigo. Now, I've been saying it, and you know what time it is, boys and girls. It is indeed that time to say that our Wendigo here is a big, beefy boy. He is a massive figure. Comparing him to Guardian, he towers over him. We're not even gonna get into, or will we? We will. How he looks next to the Runt. I mean, come on now. Come on. That is a big beefy boy. Now I know what you're gonna say. But Vamp, you said that this was just a mold reuse. Straight mold reuse. Why are you so enthusiastic? You did enough with it to make me really, really happy. Yes, if you have Marvel Legends, and if you're an avid collector like I am, you'll recognize this as being the Sasquatch Build-A-Figure, but in white. With a weird, ugly, new head, and with a peg now for a tail attached to the loincloth around the waist. It's a cheeky way to get around it, but it's also a way to make it so that that figure that did not have a tail now does. Okay! So if you're like me and you really want to get the ToyBiz alternate version of Sasquatch, which was colored white but didn't have a tail, so that you could have a Wendigo figure, here you go. This is actually the third time in Marvel Legends history we've seen Wendigo. The first one being the, as I mentioned before, all-white alternate chase figure for Sasquatch, way back in Marvel Legends history, back at ToyBiz. And the second time was in the All-Hulk wave, which was a Target exclusive. We had a Wendigo figure there as well. It was the Think Fang Film wave, if I'm going to be exact. Putting him next to Sasquatch or battling with Sasquatch will be a little awkward, but having him battle against the Hulk will definitely be pretty cool. Let's get into the articulation on this guy, though. So, for our neck articulation, that's as far as he's looking down. I don't even think he could see the runt underneath him. He can't even see the rodent because Wolverine comes up to like his belly button. Backward neck articulation, that's it. That's as far back as it's going. For our shoulder articulation, it's a little bit better than a T-pose. Not a lot, but a little. We've of course got the bicep cuts, and an arm that just will not stay in. But we've got our bicep cuts here, our single jointed elbows, Wendigo, my man. You gotta work on it. You gotta get the stretching. I know that you're doing the lifting, but you gotta do the stretching too. At least he's got the fur and the big old biceps here to make it so that it's not as noticeable, but man, that's not even 90 degrees. They're not letting you out of physical therapy like that, man. It's not gonna work. We also have the, of course, inward and outward. If it wants to go, which it seems, ooh, that is a tight joint down there. He does have the inward and outward wrist articulation, but he might be the second figure today that I gotta give the old blow dryer and hot water treatment to make it so that that's not gonna shear off in my hands. For our waist articulation, that's as far forward as we're getting, and actually that's a pretty decent degree back. I'm not going to say he's going to bend over backwards for you ladies like I did with Kurt, but he's got a decent degree of backward ab articulation here. We of course also have the waist cut. For our hip articulation, it's almost as good as Nightcrawler's. I'm going to say it's on par with Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister. That's alright. Wouldn't have expected him to be so limber, but who knows? We of course have the thigh cuts here. For the double jointed knees. That's just over 90 degrees. Like I said before, Wendigo, they're not letting you out of physical therapy like that. Nah, look at that. That's just barely. That's not even knee replacement good. That's, ouch. At least he's got a bunch of fur here. That's the reason why, but still, ow. No boot cuts on him. We do have the rocker ankles, as have become standard. We've got pretty decent in and out articulation. A fairly decent degree forward, and that's as far back as you're going. Too much fur, that's it. That's as far back as that foot's going. And of course, because we had to put it on ourselves, the tail is also articulated on a single peg. It just kind of spins around. All in all, is it such a unique build to figure? I must have it. Not really. It's the second time we've seen this same mold. Is it a cool build to figure? Yeah, it's cool. And worst comes to worst, it's a Wendigo. Even if you're not a huge Marvel and X-Men fan like I am, put him with some horror characters. Wendigos are actual things in legend. They're terrifying. Seriously, don't look them up. Don't do it. Don't. No. Oh, not even when you did.
I regret everything.
He's cool. Is he worth getting the whole wave? No. Is he worth getting Nightcrawler, Mr. Sinister, Guardian? Yeah, definitely. Even Wolverine, if you don't have one, or if you just really like the cool, thick claws on this one? Yeah. Boom Boom and Cannonball. Maybe get those parts online. Unless, of course, it's cheaper to just get the whole figure and then sell your figure online if you don't want them. Otherwise, keep them. They're fine, I guess. Not great, but they're alright. Out and out, I'm going to give our build-to-figure here is a solid... I was about to say 7. He's a solid 6.5. He's a solid 6.5. He's alright. He's nothing really brand new, with the exception of the head and the tail, which is on this loincloth piece. But he is pretty cool. He is pretty cool, and I'm just really happy they finally gave us a new Kurt, a new Nathaniel, and a new Hudson. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy altogether. So that takes care of our main wave. But if you were here at the beginning, I said make sure you stay through to the end, because there are going to be count them, 2 bonus figures and some light customizing afterwards. Yes, because our first bonus figure, well, we already looked at Kurt. We've already looked at our little blue elf friend here. You know, I just feel bad that this hasn't become more of a family affair. Unless, of course, it has. Our first bonus figure of the day is the Walgreens exclusive Mystique figure. So, I've been sitting on this figure for a little bit, trying to work her into a wave, and now we've got her here. So, let's get into our figure here. Of course, we've got the window pane front, the art here on the back, side, which is the same as the art here on the back. Our little blurb all about Raven. Inside of here, we've got some really weird choices for accessories. We've got Nick Fury's Icer Pistol. The Nick Fury Icer Pistol. I don't know why they keep on going with that gun. I really don't. We've got a pseudo shotgun that we've seen a couple times now. He was included in the Chameleon. He was included in the Ames Soldier 2-pack. We've seen that a couple times, but I'm not really sure I'd use that for Raven Darkholme here. The big things we've got are for Raven's Show of Powers. If we can get her out of the box. Clearly, she didn't want to come along quietly. Now, the big things that she came with, for her to show off her powers, are 2 extra heads. This is where our light customizing is going to come in later, as you could take off this head from Raven and put on the, or at least attempt to put on, the Rogue head, which looks alright, but I think they included that with something different in mind. We'll get to that in our customizing. Same thing with our Lilandra head, which, let's be honest here, just looks really out of place on her body. That's just really odd. That makes no sense. I know with the previous version of Mystique, put out by ToyBiz back in the day, they didn't include anything to show off her transformative powers, her mutation. The only time where they really did was back with the first X-Men Waves Mystique figure based on Rebecca Romijn Stamos, now just Rebecca Romijn, where she had a weird rubber bodysuit that looked like Wolverine. Personally, I took some of those pieces from that Rebecca Romijn version, put them with the original ToyBiz version, and made it so that you could kind of tell that she was transforming into Wolverine. It made for a cool effect in my book. I like what they did better here instead of me trying to bash together one, but we'll see what these are really going to be useful for after we're done reviewing this figure. For our neck articulation. Wow, Raven can look completely downward, and that's as far back as she can look. That's it. That's her entire backward neck articulation. For her shoulder articulation, that's all we're getting out of her. That's barely a T-pose, and I mean barely. We do not have bicep swivels. You already know. You guys already know. I'm not going to keep on cutting to this so that you can see me just stare at the screen and say how it needs to have bicep swivels. It needs to have double jointed elbows. It needs to have a waist cut. And hey, a boot cut would be nice too, but of course, Hasbro gives us absolutely none of that. For our single jointed elbows, 90 degrees. Is that good flex? Not even close. Not even a little bit. Ouch. Now we do, amazingly, have the sword cut for our wrist articulation here. That's surprising. And for our other wrist, we've got the standard in and out wrist articulation. I mean, I'm not going to say no. It's a little odd, but I suppose it works well since she has... Yeah, she does have two sets of trigger fingers, so I suppose it'll work well with the Icer pistol here, which, let's be honest, shouldn't be her gun in the first place, but Hasbro, I don't know, is allergic to making new kinds of firearms. Yeah, she can't even hold it that well. She has wrist articulation that kind of makes it work. Whew. For her ab swivel, because again, no ab crunch, you can go, at least she can go back and forth, unlike our Boom Boom figure earlier, who could not. That's as far forward as she's going to go, and do not expect her to bend over backwards for you. That's all that you're getting out of her. For her hip articulation, that's it. That's everything we've got. The only worse hip articulation we've seen today is a figure that didn't have hips. We've of course got the thigh cuts here. Our double jointed knees. Much like Boom Boom, we have the same problem here. She cannot go all the way back with her double jointed knee, which is just kind of a disappointment. There's no reason this should not be going all the way back here, other than some poor engineering. She does, of course, have the rocker ankles, where she can go a fairly decent degree in. Actually, that's a pretty painful degree in, and an equally painful degree out. Her forward and backward, actually she can go all the way on point back, and can go a decent degree forward. Now, am I going to recommend this figure to you if you already have the previous Mystique? Kinda. Not really, but kinda. She's okay. It's a pretty accurate comic representation, but best I could say is she's okay. Now the big thing, the reason I would recommend this figure, for those extra heads. So, for that light customizing I was talking about before, let's start with our first one. This is the Rogue that we saw in the Juggernaut wave. Now if we pop off Rogue's normal head, and instead pop on the Mystique head, that makes for a fairly interesting look of Mystique finishing her transformation into Rogue. Not just starting it. No. Finishing that transformation. Now that makes, at least for me, for a very unique look. If it weren't so expensive to get this figure, as she is very hard to find, I would personally want to grab another one so I could have one Rogue and one Mystique Rogue going head to head. I mean, that's just cool. Additionally, many people out there have been using this Lilandra head with Silver Sabled's body. Now, we have not gotten a Lilandra figure of any sort, but minus the extra straps and the lack of a blue cape, and of course the guns, which are just out and out not necessary for Lilandra's character. If you were to remove all the extra bits of straps from her, put on a blue cape, it would make a pretty decent Lilandra figure. That I can actually see as being the head of the Shi'ar Empire. And the Silver Sable figure is still available for retail. She's not gone up tremendously in price that I know of. I repeat, that I know of. But it makes for a pretty decent custom. Because of that, if you can find Raven Darkholme, I'd say grab her. Especially if you have these two figures, so that you can make three very unique figures from buying one here. Out and out though, just for Mystique, she's a 6 out of 10. She's good enough. She's serviceable as a Raven Darkholme. She's not great. I'm not going to tell you that she's the greatest figure that I've got of Mystique. I'd be lying to you if I did. That being said, she's still a pretty decent Mystique figure. That makes for a pretty nice shelf, especially if you just got the All in the Family 3-pack with the original version of Magneto, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. If you got Raven with that, and with the Blob and the Pyro that came out ages ago, both Pyro and Blob came out ages ago. Then yeah, it makes for a pretty cool Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Yeah, I'll give her a solid 6. If you don't have the other figure from way back in the day, pick her up. Otherwise, she's a decent enough replacement. Now, before we get to our very last figure of the day, I'm going to take a quick break. Hang on 1 second, guys. I'm going to be right back. Sorry about that minor little aside there. So, this wave we've gotten some, and with our bonus figure, we've gotten some very unique figures out of it. And we have the setup for a Lilandra figure. You know what would make this figure better? Is if we had Lilandra's longtime partner, we'll say. After all, she and the Shi'ar Empire gave him that beautiful golden hover chair. Only they made a figure, that beautiful golden hover chair, and the bald man that lies within. Well, that pretty much just gets the cat out of the bag there with our final figure of the day, our last bonus figure, Professor Charles Xavier. You'll know him as the leader, or the founder of the Xavier School for Gifted Youth. I'd say he's the leader of the X-Men, but he is the founder, though. That's right, in the Legendary Rider series, we have Professor Charles Xavier with the golden chair. I have been dying for them to make a Charles Xavier figure. The last time we got a Charles Xavier Marvel Legend was all the way back in the Galactus series, the same time when we got a Nightcrawler figure. I'm so happy that they finally gave us one. That one had the standard wheelchair from the X2 figure. Now we've got the real chair, and I can finally replace the old 5-inch version from back in the 90s with this new beautiful version. So let's get into what we've got here in front of me. We've got quite a box here. We've of course got the window pane in the front that shows us all of our goodies in here, including this extra head, which we'll get into in just a moment. We've got our comic book art there on the side, our artistic rendition, which is just a press photo of Charles Xavier in his hover chair with his blurb and with all the features of the chair here on the side. Inside of the box, if you guys can see, look closely, the background, they didn't even try and hide who they're marketing this to. The background is actually from the Fox Kids morning cartoon. We see Gambit, Beast, Jubilee, we see Storm, we see Jean, Wolverine, Cyclops, Rogue, and of course, the Professor over here. Meaning that of his backing here, we can actually recreate this backing from recent waves with the exception of Jean Grey, who we do not yet have. Now, emphasis on the word yet, as that Jean Grey is going to be coming in a 3-pack with Wolverine and a jacket-wearing Colossus rather soon. So, we can very soon recreate this entire background and just make me smile ear to ear. inside the packaging. This is going to be a little bit of a setup here. You can already kind of tell, looking at it, this is going to be a little how do you do with this setup. We've got the thruster air blast there. We've got a blanket to go over the professor's knees. The bottom of the chair. The back of the chair. A plastic covering over Cerebro, complete with a power effect, an extra head here of the Shadow King, another powerful psychic. Of course, we've got Charles himself. And then we've got the two halves of the wheelchair. Hover chair? Because it doesn't have wheels? The two halves of the professor's chair. Which I might need my patented opening tool to get at. Patented opening tool. For the two halves of the professor's chair. Whew, that is a lot to unpack. But let's get it all together. I'm excited to put this thing together. Alright, so, looking like it wants us to put on this backing piece first. Otherwise it doesn't look like it's going to stay in. It looks like it wants us to put in this chair piece as well first. Here, some assembly required. Let's put that all on the same side. So we can just kind of push it all together. And finally have it. We finally have it, ladies and gentlemen. We finally have the professor's golden hover chair in all of its 6-inch glory. Which, before we get into the figure itself and the reviews there, let's take a look at this chair, now that it's all assembled. So we've got our soft goods backing, our soft goods seat here, which looks very nice and comfortable for him. We've got these two panels which slide open, just like they did on the 1990s toy. Only he doesn't have a weird gear shift thing, he instead has a panel and a big red button. It doesn't seem to have any other panels or bits or bobs to it. Just the, of course, propulsion thruster here and these two panels. Plus a little covering for the professor's knees. For the articulation on Professor Charles Xavier himself. Now, if you guys are anything at all like me, you'll know this body all too well. It is the Agent Coulson body. It is the chameleon body. We've seen this suit body a whole bunch of times. That doesn't mean it's not used to great effect here. Though,
I must say, I must ask, who wears it better? Both bald guys with weird eyebrows.
alright, cool. So, let's get into the articulation on Professor Charles Xavier here. We of course have... Ooh! We aren't getting a T-pose out of those elbows. For our head articulation, we can look down a decent degree, and look up fairly well. This arm isn't even going to the 90 degree. Actually, neither arm is going to 90 degrees with Professor Charles Xavier here. We do have the bicep swivels. We have the double jointed elbows. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor X has that good flex. That's right. Prof X has the good flex. Alright. That works. For our wrist articulation, we've got the standard in and out for both hands. We do have an ab crunch inside of the coat here, where you can go a decent degree forward and a fair degree back. Our waist cut, it's a standard waist cut, but we've got one. Why you're going to be posing him running along is beyond me. It's Professor Xavier, you're probably going to pose him in the chair here, but who knows? He's had the ability to walk several times in the comics, so sure, you can go with it if that's your deal for whatever pose you're doing for him. For his hip articulation, better than Mystique's. And way better than Cannonball's. We've got, of course, our thigh cut there. We've got a little bit too much flash from our dress pants for the Professor to go all the way back with his knee. We've got rocker ankles on him with in and out articulation, a alright degree forward and an okay degree back. Again, if you so choose to do a young Xavier where he's ambulatory before he gets put into the chair, then yeah, he can pose decently enough for you. But as the Professor is reading your mind right now, he and I both know that's not how you're going to pose in. We also mentioned that we've got the Cerebro helmet here, which has a power piece for the back. Just kind of snaps on there. And the whole helmet just kind of goes onto the Professor's head. Which works. It works. I know the effect piece is a little odd for me, but it definitely works for showing what you're going to be trying to convey here with him. You're trying to convey him psychically talking to the students, and this is how you're going to do so. Now, for how you're actually going to be posing him, well, let's see if he's going to sit in the chair properly. As that is often a issue with Marvel Legends, is getting them to really sit in a chair. slide the panel here. Put our blanket over the professor's knees. If it wants to stay, that is. Alright. That looks pretty amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. Now, I know on the screen here it looks very yellow. Actually, it's more of a gold finish here on the hover chair. But that's just cool. That works so incredibly well for Professor X. I'm very happy to have this in my collection. A 6-inch Professor Xavier in the hover chair to go along with the rest of my X-Men. Oh, yeah, there's no part of me that doesn't want to have this. I'm very, very happy they made this figure for us. I mean, it's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty. We finally got the Professor in the way that most people remember him. This. With the weird arching eyebrow and all. Oh, here. Weird eyebrow arch. 2 fingers and all. Come on now. Now this is a legendary rider, so it is about double the price of a standard Marvel Legend. I'm going to be honest with you guys. He is about 40 bucks. That being said, if you can grab him, grab him. He's awesome. He will probably be in the center of my X-Men display from now on. I'm gonna give... Now, of course they just reused the suit body, but they reused it really well here. I think they reused it to beautiful effect. The new hand is great, because this is a brand new thing. I love it. I love everything they did here. They did so much great engineering with the chair, with the sliding panels, which again, as a 90s kid, I remember these, and I still have that figure to this day. It's in my X-Men display, the old 90s figure, because it was the only way I could get the gold chair. Now I've got this, and yeah, that's going to completely change my display with this new Professor Xavier. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's another 9. This guy's gonna get another 9 from me today. I know I shouldn't be giving him out like that, but because of all of the great work done on this hover chair, he's getting a 9. He didn't get all of the new engineering like Kurt did, but the chair did. And it really shows. You can look into details of this and see that they made sure all the panels have the detailing on them. It's not just painted on. They've got all the detailing on the backing, on every part of the chair that you'd be looking at. It's got great detail. With the sliding panels here, they're beautifully detailed down the inside. I mean, if you're an X-Men fan, he's probably already in your collection. Because you need the Professor if you're going to have the X-Men. This makes me very happy. I'm going to call it. This is my favorite legendary writer. Over Scooter Deadpool. Over Ghost Rider with the Hulk cycle. over every figure over Black Widow with her motorcycle, over Logan with his motorcycle. This is my favorite Legendary Rider they've made. Now, we do have 2 more of those coming out that we know of. We've got Cosmic Ghost Rider, and we've got Squirrel Girl with Scooter. We're getting the Squirrel Girl, and we're getting Cosmic Ghost Rider. I'll take it just for that. So far, though, this is my favorite Legendary Rider. This is the whole reason why I want them to continue doing this little side series of Legends, is to get this type of figure. This figure in particular. This exact figure is why I wanted them to do it in the first place, but this is wonderful. Now, you will note, we did get an extra piece that we haven't yet talked about with this, and that is the Shadow King's head. Now, for the Shadow King here, we only receive the head. So what are we going to do with that? Well, I'm glad you asked, as they actually included that as a piece for a previous Build-A-Figure that wasn't even X-Men Wave Build-A-Figure. It's a Build-A-Figure from Marvel Legends, not, I repeat, not X-Men Wave Build-A-Figure. Well, who is it then? You might remember his name, even though we do not speak his name. Wilson Fisk, ladies and gentlemen, the Kingpin of Crime. If we take out that cane of his, pop off this head, pop on this one, and just like that, we have a Shadow King to engage in psychic battles against Professor Xavier. Now, is it cool that they gave us this extra head so that these 2 mortal enemies can go face to face or mind to mind? Yeah. Is it a little bit bogus that you need to get a Build-A-Figure? A hard-to-find Build-A-Figure just to get a Shadow King? A little bit! Come on! If you do that kind of thing with a standard release figure, I'm a little bit more forgiving. Giving us the extra Lilandra and the extra transforming rogue head with Mystique. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Giving us a Build-A-Figure head with a Legendary Rider. Now, mind you, this isn't the first time they've done something like this. We got the Bob Agent of Hydra head along with Scooter Deadpool, which you can see in, yep, that video up there, if you're watching this on YouTube, which, of course, all the VODs get uploaded to afterwards at YouTube channel Toy Dungeon. That's right. So if you miss it here live on the Twitch channel, you can catch the VOD on YouTube. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, come join us on Sundays at noon Central Time for an unboxing at twitch.tv/Vampire Preacher. Is it bogus that we needed to get that? Shameless self-plugs. Anyway, is it bogus that we needed to get a Build-A-Figure to get this head? Yeah, we got the Bob Agent of Hydra in the Scooter Deadpool, which that was just for a standard Hydra agent. They have single packs and 2 packs of Hydra agents. That's fine. We got the extra claw hand for Apocalypse with Archangel. Cool. You don't really need the claw hand for Apocalypse, but it helps with the figure. This, in order to get a Shadow King figure, you need to get the entire Build-A-Figure for Wilson Fisk, which means that you now have 3 extra heads, 1 Screaming, 1 Calm, and 1 Shadow King for Wilson Fisk. If you want to get it right, you'd even need to get a different set of hands, preferably the Monster Venom hands, to swap them out with these to really get that Shadow King look to them. Still, it's a neat little inclusion. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap up for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure doing this unboxing with you. We got some great figures today, like Nightcrawler and Mr. Sinister. We got a figure that I really wanted to update on with Guardian, and then of course we got Boom Boom, we got Cannonball, and we got the X-Force Wolverine. The X-Force Wolverine was alright. And of course we saw the Mystique, we saw Wendigo here, and we got our Charles and our Shadow King. Now, next week, come on back, we are going to be doing another unboxing, but it's not of a standard wave. So, I'm all out of waves right now. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm all out of standard waves of figures. I don't have a Broke to figure next week. But that's okay. Next week, we're going to be doing the retro series of X-Men figures. We've got almost the entire series, with the exception of one, because I'm not getting Stealth Suit Wolverine. I don't want him. Please, keep that Cat's Reject member away from me. Thank you. With a bonus unboxing after all that's done. And hopefully by that time, we'll have either the... after next week, that is, we'll hopefully have either the 6-pack of the remainder of Alpha Flight, or we'll have the 3-pack of Jean, Wolverine, and Cyclops, possibly the 2-pack of Polaris and Havoc, or maybe even, fingers crossed, the Brothor wave will finally come to me by then. In the meantime, thank you all so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure today going through this awesome series of figures with you. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Again, make sure you check here at my Twitter, Vamp Preacher, so that you can know when we're going live. Check here at our Twitch for those live streams before we get all memed up by the editor. And check right here for the YouTube channel where you can, go and check out the VODs afterwards if you missed anything, or if you want to see me get absolutely destroyed, made fun of, and torn to pieces by my editor.
I am inevitable.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Keep it nerdy.